The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast. We got college football, NFL, and Major League Baseball. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up to me?
Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove podcast, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Visit righteousfelon.com, use promo code BELLYUP. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. I'm your host, Vince Stover, joined by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. We're well into football season here, so a lot going on.
Yeah, we got plenty of things to talk about. Talking about the games that happened this past weekend, going over your atrocious picks, and then looking forward to week number 2 and what is ahead. We also got college football to talk about. But first, Major League Baseball. We continue to wind down the Major League Baseball season, heading into the playoffs, and quite the battle going on in the wild card races right now in both the NL and the American League as well. Let's start with the National League, where you've got the Braves, Dodgers, and Brewers all but locked in to these number 1 spots. The Braves are, the Dodgers are close to it, but and the Brewers, in my opinion, are pretty well set as well. But in the wild card race right now, you've got the Phillies, who are in a good situation. Then you got the Cubs and the Diamondbacks as the last 2 spots in, with the Reds and Giants a game out and the Marlins a game and a half out in this race. Now, several weeks ago on the Sports Stove Fantasy Baseball Show, I said the wild card teams would be the Phillies, Cubs, and Diamondbacks. That's how it currently sits. What do you think the chances are of the Reds, Giants, or Marlins taking one of those spots?
Well, I think it's possible because, again, it's just a matter of somebody going on a skid. But the Diamondbacks have stayed ahead right now, and the Cubs, have played pretty well. To me, the Phillies have stumbled just a little bit in the last week, but they're still doing fine, and they're a very good team. I was about ready to give up on my Giants, and then they won today, and they've won the series. So, like I said, they're not very far out. So it would just take, it takes somebody to sweep a series and somebody else to lose a series, and all of a sudden we've got 2 or 3 different teams in it. So I think it'll come down to the end. We've got how much? We got 2 weeks or a little more than that left?
Yeah, to the end of the month.
Okay. All right. So we'll see. It'd be good for baseball for it to kind of stay in the hunt that way. And it looks like it will, at least for one of the wild card spots, and maybe all 3.
Yeah, to me, the Diamondbacks and the Cubs and the Phillies all have the best pitching rotation of the group. The Marlins have some guys who could be really good, but have really struggled this year as a whole. The Giants guys, they just haven't been what they need to be. And the Reds, we've said it all along, if anybody would listen, I've been trying to tell you, the Reds just do not have the pitching staff to make a playoff run. Now, yes, they're only a game out. Could they still make it? I guess they could. That being said, I feel like the 3 that are currently in, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Arizona, are the 3 that'll make it based off of the pitching staff that they have. And granted, the Cubs can score runs. The Diamondbacks can score runs. The Phillies, of course, can score runs too. Right now, the Giants have the best run differential of the Diamondbacks, Reds, Giants, and Marlins, but it's still negative. So those 4 teams all have negative run differentials right now. They're going to have to find the offense and find some consistency as well. But it's going to be interesting to see how that one ends out for sure. In the American League, you've got Baltimore, Houston, and Minnesota as your division leaders right now. Baltimore, as of this current broadcast, is 2.5 games up on Tampa. The Twins have it all but locked up in the Central. They're 7.5 up on Cleveland. But the Astros are only a game up on the Rangers and Mariners. But the Rangers dealt a huge negative blow again today. Max Scherzer done for the season. And, man, let's face it, the Rangers are on a 4-game win streak, but they went through a spout there where it looked like they were all but gone. Now they lose another pitcher. I'm not sure the Rangers can hold on right now, but let's start with the division race and the AL West. Houston's a game up on the Rangers and Mariners. Just a week or two ago, the Mariners were on top, and before that, the Rangers were on top. So how do you think that division is going to shake out?
Well, I think it's going to continue to shuffle around, and I think that one will go down at least to the last week, if not longer. There, it's like you said, it looked like Seattle was kind of going to be in charge, and then they went on a little bit of a slump. But yet, they're a very good team, very talented. The Rangers have been good all year, and we know Houston has been there and knows how to do it. But it looks like that's just going to continue to be a dogfight up at least till the last week, or maybe up through the end of the week.
Yeah, Houston was my pick to go to the World Series out of the AL, so I'm going to stick with them as the division winners as well. I think the Mariners will make it in over the Rangers. All three of these teams, though, have over 100-plus run differential, which is just wild to think. So they've been able to put up the runs. But again, once you get to this point of the year, you're really looking at pitching staffs overall. And the Rangers are just so depleted. I'm not sure they can maintain. But again, 4-game win streak as of this broadcast. So they're hanging in there. Let's see here. The Rays, 2.5 back from Baltimore. Baltimore's been able to steadily be on top of this division now for quite some time. Are the Rays going to catch them, or is Baltimore going to finish the season on top in the AL East?
I think Baltimore will finish the season on top because, they could have slipped a few weeks ago. But like I said, once they've got in that top spot, they've stayed pretty secure there. And the Rays, of course, very good team, but they've had little skids here and there. So I think, but they're all playing well right now. But I think the Orioles will hold on.
The Rays have been hit so hard. They had the injury issues with the coach or with the pitching staff, and then they got the Wander Franco legal issues where he's not playing either. I can't believe the Rays would be able to overcome that. But the one thing the Rays have done consistently is overachieved over the last decade. So we'll see if they'll continue to do so. In the wild card race in the American League, there's 3 teams vying for 2 spots. The Rangers, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays currently. The Blue Jays are half a game out from the Rangers and Mariners. And, of course, whoever wins the AL West, the other 2 teams will be vying for wild card spots. The Blue Jays are so talented as far as on paper goes, but they haven't really performed like they should. They're 80-65, but at the end of the day, we expected them to be better than what they are. Rangers, Mariners, Blue Jays, only 2 get in. Who are the 2 you're going with?
I'll go with Mariners and Blue Jays.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the Rangers, there's no reason why the Rangers should make it at this point because of where their roster is. That being said, they've been on top all season in the AL West until recently. You hate to see them drop off right before the playoffs start. So, but I want good playoffs, and I think having Vlad Guerrero and the Blue Jays in the playoffs, I'm more excited about that than anybody on the Rangers roster at the very least goes. So we'll keep you updated on what's going on in these wild card races and where everything ends up over the next couple weeks in Major League Baseball. All right, let's take a shift, Dad, and let's head over to the NFL, and let's start with Aaron Rodgers. 4 plays into his New York Jets career, his Achilles pops, and he's done for the year. He did say he's not going to retire, which I figured if he wanted to play another 3 years, he wouldn't retire because of this. But the Aaron Rodgers that we've grown to know, I think he's done. I don't think he'll ever be back to what he was or even necessarily close to what he was. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and his future?
Well, I think it'll be hard for him, like I said, this will be a tough recovery at his age. But right now, of course, the talk is that he will come back, and which is what I would expect to hear right now. And we'll just see how it goes. I think it depends on the procedure, depends on how well he does. does recover and how quick, and we'll see where that goes. And a lot of it may have to do with how well the Jets do, here during the year and everything too. So it's really a tough situation for them, a tough situation for him. A lot of people were excited to see him play this year. A lot of the Packer fans wanted to see him play and not do well. A lot of other fans wanted to see him do well, but the general consensus was people were expecting to see Aaron Rodgers. And I think the big blow kind of for the NFL, because this is something they were really working on there. And I don't think anybody, I think we knew, people that knew about the Packers knew there was could it be injury issues, but no one expected him, I don't think, to have an injury that would put him out for the year, and especially in the first series of the game. So, there'll be a lot that goes on, a lot of discussion with this. This is bringing up the discussion about turf and all those things again. But again, it's always been there, and maybe this will make a difference, but we will see. But yeah, I'm sorry for Aaron Rodgers as far as having this severe of injury, and hope he can recover, from there.
Yeah, someone said it on Twitter. I'm sure they said it other places. This was the only situation that was a lose-lose-lose situation. Aaron Rodgers loses, the Jets lose, and the Packers lose because they don't get the first-round pick now. So nobody is happy. No one should be happy in this situation at the very least. And yeah, I expect them to have a good year. Honestly, this year, I thought they'd be in contention as a wild card team and those kinds of things. And man, you hate to see it go down this way, but let's talk about the Jets. What do you think the Jets outcome is now for the rest of the season? They seem like they're going to roll with Zach Wilson. I'm not sure they could say anything else at this point, but I don't know. What's the outlook? Do you feel Jacksonville's sitting at right now?
Well, I think the Jets are, it's going to take a week or two for them in a lot of ways for everything to sink in. I don't think they're going to be a successful team this year with Zach Wilson. If they thought that, I don't know if they would have made the deal, for Aaron Rodgers. But it's going to be a tough situation for the Jets, no doubt about it, because I'm sure the offense now has to change. A lot of things have to change. Everything was built around Aaron Rodgers, and Zach Wilson's not going to be the same guy and play the same way. It'd be interesting to see. I've kind of wondered this week, do you have Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard looking at each other going, this isn't what we signed up for. But we will see from there. We like the coach, and he's got a tough situation here, but we'll just see, we'll see how it progresses. They can try to rally around a little bit, but they've got some glaring problems, and it showed, on Monday night. The offensive line is a problem. Everybody knew that. Yeah. That doesn't help a young quarterback either.
Well, Zach Wilson's better built for it than Aaron Rodgers is, honestly. He's a little bit more mobile. But think about what the Jets did this offseason. They brought in Lazard, they brought in Cobb, but they also brought in Nathaniel Hackett, who I promise you they would not have brought in if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had a chance to help Nathaniel Hackett rebuild his image in the NFL, and now he's hoping Zach Wilson does that for him. Boy, I don't think that's going to work out well at all. The win total was 9.5 going into the year. I think we both went over on that one, expecting them to at least get the 10 wins. I think we would both comfortably say we don't hold fast to that any longer. I don't think the Jets are a playoff team. And I don't think there's a quarterback they can bring in that would change my mind. Could they go out and trade for like a Tyler Heineke? Maybe, but at this point, you got your first round pick. You're okay with losing because there's a guy called Caleb Williams sitting out there. May sitting out there. There's quarterbacks in this draft that if you don't succeed this year, you're going to say, all right, it's no problem. We'll move on to the next quarterback. Even though Aaron Rodgers, again, if he plans to come back, that'll be a fun, dramatic scene. Maybe Aaron Rodgers is playing in Minnesota next year after Kirk Cousins leaves, but we'll see how all that one shakes out as well. Let's see here. Let's start with the Thursday night game last week. The 2024 Super Bowl champion Detroit Lions take down the Chiefs. All of the Detroit fans have woken up. They have all of a sudden are fans again. The Lions win by 1. Let's start with the Lions aspect of this game. We respect the coach. We respect the culture shift that's happened with Detroit. I am not sold that the Detroit Lions are even a playoff team, let alone Super Bowl contenders this year. I mean, I've heard Jared Goff MVP already thrown out there. It's one game, and we're going to say that a lot this week. It's one game. I know I'm a Packer fan, but Dad, I'm not on the Lions bandwagon. I don't get it. They congratulated them for winning, but I'm not sold on the Lions yet.
No, I'm not either. Again, I mean, that was a good win for them. There, no doubt about that. Again, the Chiefs didn't have Travis Kelce, but of course that happens, so you still have to play. We'll see how it goes for the next 3 or 4 games with the Lions there. Lions fans haven't had a lot to cheer about lately, so it's kind of good for them to be excited. But the season's far from over, I think, as far as the Lions, and I don't think they have. At this point, I'd agree. I don't think they've proved that they're a Super Bowl contender, and they may struggle to make the playoffs. So we'll see.
Chiefs, Bengals, and Bills all lost in week number 1. 3 of the top quarterbacks in the league, maybe the 3 top quarterbacks in the league, going down in week number 1. Time to panic on any of those teams, or it'll all balance out?
I think it'll all balance out. Burrow, of course, had been injured and obviously didn't, look like, it looked like he hadn't practiced in a while. It looked like Josh Allen was going to be great. And then all of a sudden, had all the interceptions and everything. But I mean, they're not going to stay that way. And again, I think Kansas City just has to get healthy. They've got their defensive pass rusher back now too. And so I think everyone will snap back in a few weeks. I don't believe any of those teams are gone.
I agree. Your favorite teams, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys, both won this week. Let's start with the Raiders. They beat the Broncos, and I think the Broncos are going to have a bounce-back year this year, but Raiders pull out week number 1. Is the Jimmy Garoppolo-led Raiders a threat in the West?
I don't think so. Again, I picked the Raiders over the Broncos in that one, but I don't think the Raiders are going to be a real power again, unless you have the Chiefs. But again, the Chargers had a tough start. The Chiefs lost, so we will see. But no, I don't think the Raiders are going to be a power there. So
Mike McCarthy takes over the play calling in Dallas, and they win 40-0 over the Giants. A division game on the road, complete and utter dominance by the Dallas defense mainly, but the special teams and the offense played a role in it as well. Do you put any respect on the Dallas Cowboys, or do you think they're going to lose the rest of their games this season?
No, I don't think they'll lose the rest of the games this season. And that was a very impressive win and a very impressive start, no doubt about it. I think Dallas is going to be, looking at that and knowing where we're at in the NFC, I think Dallas is going to be right in the mix all year with that. But again, are they going to go 17-0? I don't think so. But I think they obviously showed they've got a lot of talent and a good team. And to me, that was a real surprise to go on the road and win like that.
The Los Angeles Football Rams, Dad, they showed up for game 1, 30-13 win over Seattle. Tutu Atwell from Louisville and Puka Nacua, who I've never heard of until this week, went off for 119 receiving yards. Are these Rams something to worry about? What? I did not see that one coming.
No, I didn't see that coming either. It's first game, so I don't know that there's anything to worry about. Again, I kind of felt the Seahawks were going to pick up where they left off last year, and maybe that's not the case. So, again, we're going to have to give these things a couple of weeks to shake out. But again, the Rams have to be very pleased with that start.
Yeah, Geno Smith was my bust at quarterback for fantasy quarterbacks this year, and that's looking good so far. But 119 yards from two different receivers. Tutu Atwell really didn't contribute last year at all. And like I said, Puka Nacua from BYU, 10 catches on 15 targets for 119 yards. Nobody saw that one coming. Last one I've got for last week is shout out to Baker Mayfield. He wins with the Buccaneers over the Vikings, who we knew the Vikings took a step the wrong direction this offseason. This is a game the Vikings should have won at home, yet Tampa comes in. Baker throws 2 touchdowns. The run game really did nothing, but the defense was solid. Mike Evans, 6 catches, 66 yards and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, 5 catches, 51 yards. I think the Buccaneers are a dangerous team in the South, not necessarily the NFC, but in the South. And I'm on the Baker train. Very few people are on this train with me, but I'm on the Baker train this year in Tampa.
Well, Tampa, again, that was a good win for them. And again, I hope Baker Mayfield does well. And I think you're right. They could be an issue in the South just because of the teams that are there. So they're off to a good start, no doubt about it. And I was happy to see that for Baker Mayfield too.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill, 3 interceptions. Anthony Richardson almost led his team to a win over the Jaguars. Kenny Pickett got beat up against San Francisco. The Commanders pulled out a comeback win. The Dolphins beat the Chargers, and actually a close game. And the Chargers, this was a coaching mistake again and again and again, and they could not get it done what needed to get done. They lose to the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins are a good team, don't get me wrong, but the Chargers were in a position to win that game and could not pull it out. So we got a lot to see. Any quick topics that you want to talk about from week 1 before we move on to week 2?
No, we'll being here in Ohio, of course, watched the Cincinnati-Cleveland game, and we had talked about, I think Cleveland will be better, and I think that was a really good start for them. Their defense is really, really good, and I think Deshaun Watson, I think they've got him in a system here that's going to be good. So I think the Browns this could be a good year for Browns fans.
We'll know a lot this week when they play Pittsburgh. Burrow was out with the injury. The offensive line did not look good. The question is was Cincinnati bad, or was Cleveland good, or a little bit of both, or neither? Whatever it may be, we're going to learn more about Cleveland. I don't put too much into it. Cincinnati starts slow, and so we'll see. I put out a poll on Twitter this week, Dad. Who will be the first NFL coach to get fired this season? I listed 3 names: Brandon Staley from the Chargers, Zach Taylor from the Bengals, Matt Eberflus from the Bears, or an option for other. The most commented on other was Brian Daboll from the Giants. First of all, I don't think Daboll is getting fired, and I don't think Zach Taylor from the Bengals is getting fired either, although if they started off like 0-5, 0-6 maybe, but I don't see that happening. I got Brandon Staley, and so does the pollsters. 43% said Brandon Staley from the Chargers, first coach to get fired this year. Matt Eberflus was second place with 30%. Who do you think is going to be the first coach fired this year?
Oh, I think it'll be Eberflus. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I don't think he'll last through the year. So,
well, we will see. I think he will. I think they're going to be a little bit more patient with him. I think they understand they don't have the pieces in place for him to be with them. But that being said, maybe Ryan Poles fires him to cover up his horrible job as a GM. All right, let's get into week number 2, and we're going to start off with our pick 6 games. Let me pull these up real quick. Last week, between me and you, Dad, let's see here, the leaderboard. I got 4 games correct. You had 2 games correct. Belly Up Will, by the way, is tied for first place. You can join our Pick 6 competition. Go to my Twitter page at Sports Stove. Pinned to the top is the link. You can jump in there, pick 6 games each week. Let's get into our week 2 picks, though. We've got 2 primetime games this week on Monday night, but we got Thursday night, Sunday night, 2 Monday night games, and then we'll pick 2 other games as well. Let's start with Thursday night. The Philadelphia Eagles, who barely got past the Patriots, they are going to host the Minnesota Vikings, who got just embarrassed last week. Philadelphia at home, 7.5-point favorite. Which way are you going here with this game?
Well, a lot of the lines this week had really high numbers, so that made it kind of difficult. Teams I thought would win. But again, maybe this is just well-wishing, but I'll go with Philadelphia. They are at home. They do have some players that are out, going to be out this game. But I'll go with Philadelphia. 7.5 is a lot. But Minnesota, again, it won't take much for Minnesota to come apart. And that was a tough game losing at home last week. So we'll see if they can rebound here, but I'll go with Philadelphia, even though it's a high one.
Starting running back Kenneth Gainwell, cornerback James Bradbury, safety Reed Blankenship, all ruled out for this game. Fletcher Cox has a rib injury and is listed as questionable, according to Tim McManus of ESPN. I'm going to go Minnesota to cover. I think Philadelphia wins this game, but I think it's a close one. So I'm going to pick Minnesota to cover in this game at plus 7.5. Sunday night football is the Miami Dolphins traveling to the New England Patriots. The Dolphins are the road favorite, 2.5-point favorite in this game. I'm going with Miami. Until Tua gets hurt, they're going to be a really tough team. So I'll go with Miami in this game.
Yes, I'll go with Miami also. Again, even though it's at New England and is a division game, if Miami's going to be good, which I think they're going to be, then this is a game they need to win. And at 2.5, they can win on a field goal. So I'll go with Miami also.
You want a big surprise? The biggest surprise of the week? I picked up Tua in a fantasy league. With Aaron Rodgers going down, I needed a quarterback badly. I got C.J. Stroud on my roster. That's not going to cut it. So I picked up Tua. I'll ride him till he gets hurt. Monday night, there's 2 games on Monday night. First, it's the New Orleans Saints traveling to the Carolina Panthers. Rookie Bryce Young could not pull out the win in his first week. New Orleans had an exciting win in their first week. I'm going to go with the road favorites in this one, and New Orleans at minus 2.5. How do you sit with New Orleans at Carolina?
This was a close one when I looked at it because I'm not sure really where New Orleans is at, but I will go with them. I'll have to agree with you on that. 2.5. I think New Orleans should beat Carolina. I kind of got a funny feeling though. Carolina could rebound here or be at home. This would be an important game if they could win it, but I'll go with New Orleans.
See, I agree that we don't really know who New Orleans is yet, but I think we do know who Carolina is, and that's why I'm confident with picking New Orleans in this one. I like the future for Carolina. I don't like the present. The other Monday night game is Pittsburgh hosting Cleveland. Pittsburgh is the underdog in this game at minus 1.5. They did not look good against San Francisco, which granted, very few teams do look good against San Francisco. But Cleveland's defense was all over Joe Burrow. If they can do that to Kenny Pickett, it could spell danger in Pittsburgh. Which way are you going here? Cleveland, 1.5-point favorites against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this is a tough one because being a division game, I mean, you just don't ever know on this. But it's even though it's on the road, again, I think Cleveland's going to be good this year. So again, 1.5, I'll go with Cleveland. Even though they're on the road, go with the favorite on this one.
Yeah, I don't know how you can watch that Cleveland game and that Pittsburgh game last week and think Pittsburgh has any chance this week. I'm going to go Cleveland as well at 1.5. I feel pretty safe with that. All right, so that's 4 games in our slate this week. We got to pick 2 more games of your own choosing. So, Dad, I'm going to let you go first. What's the first game that you picked?
I'll take Tampa Bay at home over Chicago. I think that's kind of an easy one there. And again, they're at home, and I don't think this is going to help Chicago's psyche at all. So I will go with Tampa.
All aboard the Baker train. I picked that game as well. I've already told you I'm on the Baker train for this year, and at 2.5 points at home, especially. Tampa shouldn't have any problems against Chicago this week. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin currently healthy. That's a big deal. Rashad White should step up in this game and get a ton of rushing yards as well. The Tampa defense is fine. I got Tampa as well, 2.5-point favorites at home. All right, who's your last game of the week?
Well, again, looking at the games this week, I saw a lot of teams that I think will win, but the spread was really high, so it was a little scary there. So this one's not going to surprise anybody, but Green Bay really did look good. And again, Atlanta won also, and it is at Atlanta, but I'll go with Green Bay, 1.5. And again, I'm being optimistic there, but I'd love to see him get off to a 2-0 start. And the way the defense played, I think it's definitely possible.
I mean, I'm with you. I picked Green Bay also. I feel like this is an easy one. A 1.5-point favorite. The disrespect Green Bay got coming into the season, having the same win total as Chicago. I mean, they were clearly better than Chicago. I mean, before the game was even played, we knew they were better than Chicago. Atlanta is a team that is a lot of unquestioned or unanswered questions. They've got a solid run game. They're split it between Algiers and the rookie Bijan Robinson. But I think Green Bay is going to hold up pretty well in the dome. There's no weather to deal with. I think this is an easy one to pick. So I went with this one too. Green Bay over Atlanta with 1.5 points. Here's a couple of the games I looked at. Indianapolis and Houston. I think Indianapolis wins this game very easily. I didn't pick this in my pick 6, but I think Indianapolis is the better team. I think that Houston in time will be competitive, and I don't think they're going to get blown out by any stretch of the imagination. But I liked what Indianapolis looked like this past week, and so I'm going to go with Anthony Richardson over C.J. Stroud in the battle of the rookie quarterbacks this week. How do you feel about Indianapolis at Houston?
Well, Indianapolis really surprised me last week. I didn't think, I thought it was definitely going to take a while for Richardson, and I think maybe in some ways it will. But again, I think, he looked better by far last week, like you said, than Stroud did. But again, the Texans, I think, are in some ways, they've got some good players also. To me, this is just a very tight one to see which way it goes. But I'm for both these teams to not be as bad as people thought at the start of the year.
Sure. Okay. We're going to try to run through these pretty quickly. Detroit at home against Seattle. They're 5.5-point favorites. Again, I just don't believe in Detroit. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I'm going to go Seattle in this game. Do you go Seattle or Detroit?
I would definitely go with Seattle as far as the 5.5 is concerned. We'll see. Detroit might have a good shot at them.
Chargers head to Nashville to face the Titans. Man, the way the Titans looked last week, you got to think the Chargers will win this game and win it easily. But I think Derrick Henry is going to get a whole lot more touches this week. But I'll pick Chargers on the road over Tennessee. How about you?
Yes, again, we're not big Tennessee Titan fans necessarily, and the Chargers should be better. I kind of hate they lost last week, but we'll see. They should win this week.
Tough divisional battle in the AFC North. Cincinnati at home over Baltimore. Baltimore didn't look great. They did win. They didn't really look great doing so. They're already out J.K. Dobbins. Cincinnati definitely didn't look good. I don't know that Burrow bounces back this week. I'm going to go Baltimore over Cincy this week. How about you?
I think it could be a tough game, no doubt about it. Seattle or Cincinnati does not want to get off to the slow start like they did last year. I think they will rebound and be ready to go. But, I like Baltimore also. But like I said, they lost Dobbins. This should be a real close game.
Buffalo, 8.5-point favorite over Vegas at Buffalo. I think Buffalo, this is prime bounce back opportunity for them. I think Buffalo wins this one, run away with it. So I'll take Buffalo over Vegas. How about you?
Yeah, I think Buffalo Buffalo needs to win this, and they should be able to cover that with Vegas at home.
All right. Dan, I'm going to ask you to close out and come back in. Let's see if that helps. We've got the audio delay going on with you right now. So we'll have you just close out of this, exit out and come back in. We'll add you back in. Yeah, I agree, though. I think Buffalo, listen, that was such a bad performance against the Jets. And I'm really hoping that maybe they can figure things out this week and, take care of business, I suppose, against Vegas. I think there's a good chance that they will. Buffalo is such a good team. We saw even in their good things going on, it was really good. It was the bad things that obviously were the issue. So the 3 interceptions by Josh Allen, did not see that one coming at all. And I don't know. Maybe he'll get it figured out. I think he will against the Vegas Raiders this coming week as well. The next game is Kansas City. They're on the road at Jacksonville. Jacksonville gets the win over Indianapolis, but it was not a pretty win. Indianapolis stayed right with them pretty much to the end. And, of course, Kansas City lost to the Lions. So you got to sit there and wonder what's going to happen in this game. Jacksonville's 2.5-point dogs at home. I think I'm going to go Jacksonville with this one. At home, I think the crowd will be good down there in Duval. And I think Jacksonville can I think they're good enough to win this game. I think Kansas City, they just got some things to figure out. At the end of the year, I think Kansas City is probably going to be better than Jacksonville. But for this game, I'm going to go with Jacksonville at home over KC. We'll bring Dad back in now. Dad, Kansas City, 2.5-point favorites at Jacksonville. I'm going to go with the Jags. How about you?
Yes, again, I think Kansas City is going to rebound, but I think Jacksonville's really good. And this is a game I almost picked, but yes, I'll take Jacksonville. Again, should be a very good game.
Let's see here. San Francisco heads to the Rams. San Francisco 7.5-point favorite. The Rams had such a good performance last week. 7.5 is a big number for this one. I might go with the Rams to cover, but I think San Francisco still gets the win.
Yes, I think San Francisco gets the win, and we'll see if the Rams are kind of for real or not. But I think San Francisco may handle them.
New York Giants, you're talking about an ugly start to the season, losing 40-0, but good news, they get the Cardinals this week. Cardinals are at home, Giants 5.5-point favorites. I'll pick against Arizona all season long, so I'll go Giants in this one. How about you?
This game's kind of interesting. I mean, the Giants should rebound. They need to rebound. Like you said, it's hard to pick the Cardinals, but the Cardinals are they're gonna hit a team here that's really on a down slope. So I don't know. I almost in a lot of ways would pick the Cardinals, but like you said, I don't think they're really wanting to win a whole lot this year. But this might be an interesting game to watch. It'd definitely be ugly for the Giants if they lose this one.
Well, that I agree with. I don't think there's any way they lose it, though. I mean, I think this is the ultimate. We got embarrassed. Every film session is going to be pointing out things. I think they bounce back in a big way here against Arizona. Dallas, the 40-0 win last week. Now they got a 9.5-point favorite over the measly New York Jets. The Jets with Zach Wilson. 9.5 is a big number. I'm not going to lie about that. The Jets have a good defense. The question is, can they put up enough points to hang with Dallas? I think Dallas wins this game. I don't have any doubt about that. 9.5, though, whoosh, I'm not sure about that one. How are you feeling about Dallas and the Jets?
And this game is at Dallas, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think Dallas will cover this. Again, I think the Jets are going to, be a real reality check here. And Dallas did play good defense last week. I think Dallas will handle them and they'll cover this.
I think the hardest game to pick this week is Denver and Washington. Denver's at home, 3.5-point favorites. Washington had to come from behind to beat Arizona and keep me in my survivor pool. Denver loses by a point to Vegas. I still think Denver's going to be better at the end of the day. I guess I'll go with Denver, but this to me is the hardest one to pick.
Yes, it is a hard one. I'll take Washington because, again, I think Denver is going to get better, but I don't think they're going to have a banner year. And but I don't know where Washington is either. But I would pick Washington in this one.
A fun week 2 ahead of us, no doubt about that one. Again, you can get your pick six in. Go to the Sports Stove Twitter page at Sports Stove. Pinned to the top of our page is the link to join the pick six competition. Get on, pick 6 games, and enter to win. All right, Dad. Anything else in the NFL before we transition to college?
No, like I said, it'd be an interesting, week 2. Again, I think it's going to be, a real year for parity again, and it's going to be a couple weeks before we see, where everything's going to shake out. But a lot of fun games to watch this week, and again, being Packer fans, boy, it went well last week, so we've had a good week this week, and hopefully it'll continue for a little bit.
On to college football. The schedule makers did not help us out this week. In week 3 of the college football season, there is not a single top 25 matchup where 2 ranked teams go up against each other. Tennessee, Florida is always a game that we as Tennessee fans look forward to. And home opener for EKU this week as the Colonels face Western Carolina. Of course, the news broke on Tuesday morning that Coach Roy Kidd, the legendary EKU football coach, passed away at the age of 91. And so there's a lot of emotions running around the EKU facilities these days as well. I'll be putting out a preview article on EKU Western Carolina, hopefully tomorrow or Friday. But we talked about the game on Monday's episode of the Sports Stove Local Hour, if you want to go back and listen to that. Dad, are there any games this weekend that you're excited about?
Well, like I said, you got the Tennessee-Florida game, important game for Tennessee. As I looked at it, there's a few, like I said, not 2 ranked teams. Will LSU, will they rebound, and they're at Mississippi State? So that could be interesting there. Washington, I think, who's going to have a good team. They're on the road against Michigan State. They shouldn't have any trouble. We'll see. And again, if I look for one that kind of be a spoiler alert, maybe I'd pay attention to the Minnesota game at North Carolina. I think Minnesota could give them a little bit of trouble. North Carolina, to me, hasn't started out great. So those would be fun games to watch. But like you said, there's no big game like there was last week with the Alabama-Texas game. And that was quite a game.
Yeah, and actually Minnesota-North Carolina is the game that I was looking at as well as a possible kind of upset alert. App State took North Carolina to 2 overtimes. South Carolina lost to them 31-17. So Minnesota's 2-0. Now, granted, they played Eastern Michigan and Nebraska, but still, and they barely survived Nebraska, by the way. That was week 1. That's kind of the game that I got my eyes on as well, as far as upset alert kind of things go. Michigan State, I think they're in so much trouble right now off the field. That's not going to help them this weekend for sure as well. And then let's see here. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, there's very little excitement as far as the top teams in the nation go this week. We can pull up the SEC and see what's going on over there. I mean, Vanderbilt and UNLV could be a good game just because it's 2 stinky teams. But outside of that, there's very little excitement going into this week. Not a whole lot to watch. It doesn't seem like going into this weekend. So find your favorite team, watch them, cheer them on, and go from there. I'm sure the TV networks aren't super excited about what's rolling out this weekend. But, hey, for us, Florida, Tennessee is always fun to watch, and hopefully Tennessee can dominate. They're only 6.5-point favorites. It's in the swamp, which in the past would worry me. Maybe I should be worried, but I'm not this year for Tennessee at Florida. All right, any surprisings in the rankings, Dad? You got Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Texas as your top 4. USC, Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame, and Alabama is in your top 10. Should Alabama be in the top 10?
Whether they should be or not, they're Alabama's never going to drop too far unless they really, really get in trouble. I don't know if they're a top 10 team or not, but they're still Alabama and they are still a good team. So, we'll see. Probably not too much surprising this early in the rankings. We'll see how good Florida State is, if they can hold up there in that position or not.
The coaches poll flips Texas and Ohio State. They've got Ohio State 4 and Texas 6. And they flipped Tennessee and Notre Dame, taking Notre Dame from 9th to 11th and Tennessee from 11th to 9th as well. Everything else is identical. So that's interesting to me. Oregon, Utah right there as well as far as undefeated teams. But the only team with a loss in the top 10 is Alabama. Actually, in the top 13 is Alabama. LSU is ranked 14 at 1-1. Everybody else undefeated in the AP poll, of course, that is. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward and keep everybody updated on that as well. Any other news or things you want to discuss before we sign off today?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, we'll have a lot to talk about next week because of things with the NFL and probably going to be going into some better college games. And like I said, baseball keeps coming down to the end here. So, exciting. The sports season's definitely here. Football's here. And that's all good.
Yes, indeed. Sunday night, live at 8 o'clock. Join me and Kevin for the Sports Stove Fantasy Baseball Show. We will be getting you ready for the Fantasy Baseball Championship on that program. And then Monday night, join the Sports Stove Local Hour. Ryan Jackson, EKU defensive lineman, joins me every week there. And Wednesday night, me and Dad will be right back here, live and ready to go, talking NFL, college football, and Major League Baseball. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Stove. Go visit righteousfelon.com to get you some, some beef jerky. Use code BELLYUP for 15% off your purchase. And make sure you tune in to our next program. Thanks for tuning in to the night's edition of the Sports Stove Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.